Welcome everyone. Today we have a new rogue for Season 6 of Diablo 4. Now looking behind me, this is gonna be a Dance of Knife rogue that is speed farming tier 75 dungeons. And you can see it is extremely mobile, it is pretty much permanent uptime, and the rogue is dashing super fast to clear the dungeon. And I do believe this is one of the fastest Chinese content creator who has cleared pit 75 in under 1 minute and 35 seconds. So fast forwarding a little bit, you can see that the icon over there is charging super fast. Now I do apologize for the quality of this particular replay simply because the Chinese content creator had a much minimized mode that it was hard to capture the replay, but you can see the demonstration. So overall, this is a very fast rogue build that can help you speed farming any of the content, and that was pit 75 in 1 minute and 35 seconds. So briefly going through this particular rogue build. Right away, you can see we're permanently dance of blade dashing around with insane attack speed and also movement speed. We are using the mercenary swordbow so we can see where the enemies at on the map, as we talked about in the previous video. Yes, a lot of the Chinese players are using swordbow for the map hack. We are using a number of snapshotting abilities, which allows us to have stack of damage that runs as we continue to cast a spell and also hold onto the spell. And this is a very interesting mechanics which allows you to deal the highest damage for the rogue as you permanently dash around and also kill enemies in your path. Now before we jump over to the builder's guide, we are learning this build from the Chinese content creator 如果不是七. He's one of the content creators who focus on rogues this season, and if you look at the video you can see why what we're watching was a little smaller because he only had 1/4 of the size of the demonstration. I tried to enlarge it for you guys. So what we can see is the Chinese content creator actually created two versions of build, one with Dance of Knives, the second version with the Ring of Arrows. So today we'll be focusing on the Dance of Knives, and should you guys want to look at the Ring of Arrows, he can push up to pit 100 with both of the build. And I'm sure you guys will be more interested with Dance of Knives, and there's a lot of mechanics I want to go through with you guys, together with the abilities and also ways to do more damage with a lot of hidden tricks. And yes guys, on the final part of the video, we'll go through some of the skill rotations and also additional tricks where the Chinese content creator is getting a lot of source of damage by casting those spells before casting Dance of Knives. So again, a big thank you and also credits to 如果不是七 for sharing us this wonderfully fast rogue build for Season 6. Now coming over to the translator builder's guide for the rogue's build. And what we have is we have two versions of the build. One version of the build which we do not use any of the mythical helmet, we're only using the mythical chest for the 4th death. There will be another version should you want to use more unique items and also a mythical helmet for more critical chance and also more movement speed, and which I'll be updating for you guys after the recording of this video. So let's briefly have a look at this build. We are using the mythical chest simply because of +1 to passives. The content creator has mentioned that +1 to all passive pretty much double your damage for the rogue, and simply because of this unique effect. We're using a unique helmet which seems to be working pretty well against crowd control enemies to provide us with more lucky hit chance, and those are the only two pieces of unique gears for this particular version. Now the content creator has mentioned that if you are pushing with rogue, you can push up to pit 100. It gets a little harder after pit 105, and this is a warning because this is not a Spiritborn class. Now in terms of the rest of the gears of choices, I have translated from the Chinese version, and you guys can see we'll be going for all stats. We could be stacking a lot of attack speed whenever we can find it, together with getting all elemental resistance and also socketing the armor gems in the accessories. So this particular rogue build is quite interesting, and you will be having a lot of chance to freeze, to stun enemies as you dash through them, dealing tons of damage. Now one of the core synergy for this build is this particular aspect, the aspect of synergy. So using agility skills will reduce the cooldowns of Superfetch skills cooldowns, and in return using Superfetch skills will increase the damage of agility skills. Together with the amulet which allows us to have additional cutthroat skill increased damage, and together with the craftings on the cut skill attack speed, we can reach 200% attack speed for this particular build. And from the content creator, that if you are stacking attack speed, this seems to be working to give you even higher damage for the Dance of Knives. Now briefly going through some of the other important details of this build. Coming from the Chinese content creator, Even though we're not using the ultimate skills, this particular preparation specialization, as you can see in the actual video, he talked about this one allows us to refresh the stacks of Dance of Knives, and this seems to be the best choice for the damage of the build. So let me move my head over here. You can see that he's specializing in this particular perk. And as a non-rogue expert, I was pretty amazed by this. I didn't know the interactions, but it seems to be working for him on this particular choice. And you can see he's picking preparation for this particular setup. Now in terms of the choice of the rune word, he's going with Yaks and Wax. He'll be increasing his non-basic skills damage as he combines those two runes. And one of the later part of the tips is using this particular trick to drink potions and then increase your non-basic skill abilities, which enables you to do even higher damage with snapshotting. The second rune word allows him to travel 5 meters, gaining offerings, and then in return using the Jewel's Petrify, which will deal additional critical damage against enemies. He's going with the dexterity gems on the armor, and also additional armor gems on the accessories. Now, because myself personally, I'm not a rogue expert, I'll recommend you guys follow directly from the content creator skill lines over here for the choices of skills. So now let's briefly come over to the Paragon choices for this particular setup. So one of the Paragon glyphs he has is going to be Kenny, which allows him to do additional non-physical damage as a stack intelligence. The second Paragon node over here of the second glyph is going to be Versatility, which enables him to boost the magic nodes together with additional more damage with non-basic, non-core skills. The next glyph we have is Control, additional damage against crowd control enemies, which you do have a lot of form of crowd control, especially with higher lucky hit chance. And the next glyph we have is going to be Combat. Stacking intelligence allows you to have higher critical strike damage, and critical strike damage restores the energy cost. Finally, we have the glyph Explosive. Having dexterity in this section allows you to deal more stun grenade damage, and together with additional damage reduction and also dropping additional stun grenades for more staggering and also more control. In terms of the mercenaries, he's going with Subble, and here Subble provides him with additional critical strike damage. In terms of the reinforcement, he's going with the shielding Rehab, and this allows him to gain Bastion whenever he becomes injured. And because Rogue is not the tankiest class, this does help to him to get out of trouble with higher difficulties of pit over 100 plus. Now, one of the biggest factors that I want to highlight with you guys on this part is the ability to cast different spells and also continuously casting of Dance of Knives while you have those other spells activated. And this is what the Chinese content creator is trying to explain. But of course, you guys can't understand Chinese, or most of you can't, right? So here's the translation. And what you want to do for the rogue character before you cast your Dance of Knives. So you want to be casting other skills that achieve a snapshot ability. So while those other skills and buffs are activated, you then can cast your Dance of Knives, and then this enables you to permanently dash around with all of those buffs constantly added and also maintained while you are rotating like the Whirlwind Barbarian. So basically, you want to have a checklist of skills that you should be casting before casting Dance of Knives. So any of the Shadow or Eyes imbuement, you should have those activated. Followed by that, you should activate your Dark Shard. At this moment, you should also aim for around 200% attack speed. Now I know this can be a little harder to achieve the attack speed, but you can see a lot of his gears, his max master crafting for attack speed, attack speed, attack speed, even tempering for more cutthroat attack speed. Together with weapons gaining more cutthroat attack speed, this is how you can hit close to 200% attack speed for the breakpoint for the highest damage for Dance of Knives. And of course, you should be casting your skill Concealment. And what the Chinese content creator mentioned is that while having the Concealment activated, you then cast a Dance of Knives. It seems to be that you're gaining all the benefit from this skill as well, because you're concealed and dashing around. And finally, if you have a look at the rune word we mentioned earlier, so the rune word we have is going to be this one. This allows you to drink a potion, which after drinking 2 potions, you have 400 offerings. And this in return spend all the primary resource to deal 100% more damage for non-basic skill ability. So the final snapshot you should do is, you should be drinking your potions and then achieving a bonus 100% damage. So while having those 5 different checklists activated, you should be casting all of those spells before you cast the Dance of Knives. And this is what happened in the replay demonstration. So if you come over to the replay, it is a little harder to see because the way he chose it. Notice that right at the start, he has cast all the abilities we mentioned about. He even drank the potion, and you can see the bar of the buffs on top of the rogue. And once he starts, he just dashes around with his Dance of Knives. And this allows him to permanently keep this ability while you are spinning around with your Dance of Knives. It is quite important to understand this, guys, because those snapshotting tricks and also method enable this build to push and also to spin very fast for higher level content. Now, as for the rest of the build and also demonstrations, you can see that this build actually explodes monsters as you go past them, and you're also kind of invisible, so you don't really have troubles with pit 75 dungeons. This build can push up to pit 100 and possibly 105 and maybe even 110. Again, it is a non-Spirit Bomb build, so you can see that this build won't be the strongest for pit 150, so this is a warning. You have a lot of staggering, you have a lot of mobility, and monsters are frozen, monsters are also disabled, monsters are stunned. Now, as for fighting against the boss, make sure you cast all your abilities as you can see on the buff, drink your potions, and then start spinning as the boss becomes available to you. And once you have all of those abilities activated, you're going to see a massive damage boost against any of the boss. Now, before you finish the video, there is another previous version of the build where the Chinese content creator used this particular mythical helmet, and also he used a few of the other gears, which I'll have another variant for you guys, should you guys want to have a look. And because personally I'm not an expert for Rogue, I'll be translating and also directly showing everything the Chinese content creator provided so we can follow his build and try to have some fun with Rogue for Season 6.